0707. In studio right now, we have our main man, Tim, from an organization called Canna-Hub, which it was formed basically to identify, acquire, and build out solutions for the cannabis real estate market, right?
Correct, yes.
And it's pretty extraordinary. Talking in pre-production with you, there's a lot of nuances that I want to go over and questions that I have because I've been working in this up-and-coming recreational Prop 64 market here in California, trying to write my pro formas, trying to get everything ready to go as quickly as possible into the market and get our foothold established, right? And there's a lot of things happening in municipalities and counties, statewide, that some are being very forthcoming that, hey, let's do this. Some are waiting to vote on it. Some have said no. There's a lot of things that we have to take into consideration, which I know you're ready to talk about. But before we do that, Tim, you're a pretty straight-laced looking guy, man. Okay, and the thing you said right before you came on there, you said, I'm a judge at High Times events. You're a fucking High Times judge?
Yeah, I've judged, I think, probably half a dozen or 8 events, something like that.
Okay, so on the next one I enter, it comes in under Tubbs Farms. Like, yeah, that shit is the fire, right?
Yeah, I've vape pens is what I did last time, but I've done flower, oil, but it's a serious commitment. People don't realize that you pick up your kit like a week before the event, and then you're stuck for a week.
Smoking weed?
Yeah.
All fucking day.
Fuck.
It's terrible.
I think. Did you judge at the 420 Cup in Denver a couple years back?
No, I did a Michigan Cup. I did the Clio Cup, I think. I've done a couple San Bernardino Cups. I don't remember. They're all kind of fuzzy.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a 5-day commitment, man. To get through 50 strains and to do it, to be serious about it, and actually give each strain its chance. It's a full-time job, and you got to take basically a week off work and lock yourself up in an Airbnb.
Well, Horty and I have taken the last 25 years off work.
Fuck yeah.
Actually, we made weed our work so we can just smoke weed all the time, which it seems that you're doing now. But tell me a little bit about your background, how cannabis has played into it. Were you a young grower? Were you just someone that liked cannabis and cannabis products as a young man, or did you come to it later in life? Tell me about your history with cannabis.
Well, I'm a lifetime advocate for cannabis, obviously. I've been in the business about 6 years, but I was heavily involved early on in Illinois in writing that law. I founded, it was a CEO of the largest operations in Illinois, and I've designed or built facilities all over the world and all over the country. So my background is really real estate. I've been a real estate developer since I was 18 years old.
I was gonna say you kind of look like a real estate guy.
Yeah. That's the.
It might just be the sweet sport coat
and the J's.
Yeah, J's on my feet.
His suit is worth more than our studio.
Probably.
I prefer the shoes, but
I recognize JCPenney when I see it. I'm just
Damn,
messing
that's a way to insult the guest.
I'm just messing.
Whoa! I think he's still got a hangover from the last cup he judged.
Didn't realize the stool swiveled so.
Don't fall down, dude. We don't have insurance.
That was good. That'll make good internet.
There we go. Make good internet. But no, you've been a cannabis advocate. You've been developing properties, a proponent for cannabis legalization across the country, and that's what brought you to this venture now?
Yeah, I mean, California is a real special market in that it's obviously the largest cannabis market there is. It's larger than all the other states combined. And I've been planning on moving out west for a long time, and it was kind of the right timing. My son was going to college. My daughter was going to kindergarten, and made the move. So now I'm focusing solely, instead of competing with our operators, we're focused solely on the real estate. We develop, design, build, manage, and own first of their kind cannabis business parks.
So a business park, like how big of an area is a business park? How many square feet?
Our largest currently is 80 acres, and it'll be about 120 operaters roughly.
Damn, that's a lot of acreage, and that's 120 operators at maximum capacity. Well,
it depends on the breakup of how many cultivators to manufacturing, transportation, distribution, and so forth. But it'll be about 1.2 million square feet in that north of Sacramento site alone.
So let's take one step back real quick about getting these spots built and cannabis ready. what I said about municipalities and counties kind of being on the ledge of might not knowing what to do, waiting to see, or just saying, no, this isn't going to happen in our area. What is Canna-Hub, or what are you doing, or what have you done with these areas you're building these to ensure that these are going to be sound investments for people that sign up with you?
It's a good question. Essentially, the short way to say it is we cut through all the red tape already. We've already entitled and rezoned and got ordinances passed to rezone these properties. So not only does it include, our zoning include every license type except for outdoor grow and dispensaries, including volatile solvents, but we also have the synergy of having all those license types in one park, where your processor or your manufacturer or your transport company's probably going to be across the street from you.
Which is convenient.
Oh, absolutely, especially with third-party testing. Instead of sending every batch off 50 or 100 miles and paying for that or having that cost, you're going to have your a couple labs in the park that you can choose from. So the synergies, and then the biggest difference between us and quote-unquote competition is the overhead cost. I mean, most of these cities or counties, you have to look close because the devil's in the details. It's not just about how much per square foot, but are they charging a percentage of gross revenues?
Yeah.
And I think almost every city, or 99 out of 100, are charging a percentage of your gross revenues as part of your permitting fee. With us, it's $3.50 a square foot a year or less, and no percentage of gross revenues. So large operators can save millions of dollars a year by locating one of our parks, and then you have all the benefits of being in a Canna-Hub park.
So at that rate, am I just paying for the building and the space, or you actually have obtained the licenses from the local authorities as well as the state, or is it one or the other? Exactly what is included in my space if I went to Canna-Hub and signed with you guys?
So what we provide to you is either we can provide a vanilla box, or we can do as much design and build out as you want. We try not to steer guys in any certain direction as far as their process flow and things like that, because we want them to own that. But we can deliver the space vanilla box or completely built out with lights hanging. So that'll affect obviously your lease price. But again, the huge advantage is instead of paying 5% of your gross revenues to the city or to the county, plus $7 to $22 a square foot a year just for your permit. That's before you pay rent.
Yeah.
With us, you're just paying that flat rate of $3.50 a square foot a year or less, and that's it. So you don't have to worry about, first off, them coming in and measuring your canopy constantly and bringing in pests. We've cut through all of that red tape, all that entitlement and ordinances for the operators, and we've negotiated really good deals with progressive communities that want the economic impact that we're going to bring.
And that it almost sounds too good to be true. Honestly, here, Tim.
I hear that a lot.
And because, like I said, working on it, and $22 per square foot of canopy, it's so cost prohibitive for operators. If you're not getting 3 pounds of light and producing those at $300 a pound, you're assed out. You're losing at life in the grow game.
Unfortunately, a lot of these cities, I think cannabis operations are a license to print money, and they're not.
Not anymore. They used to be.
Yeah. When you're growing in your garage or in your basement or whatever, without any compliance. No, that's fine. I fully support home grows. I want to go on the record saying that, like I did the last time. But once you move into a regulated environment, and California's escaped that since 1996, but now next year it's the real deal, and only the most sophisticated guys and the guys that are ready for this change and can pass third-party testing and have the money for compliance and security and all those things, those are the guys that are going to grab market share, while the other guys are kind of fumbling around.
Let's talk about the brass tacks, the money that it's going to take to get into, if I want a maximum recreational canopy space before 2023, which from my understanding, and I don't have the legal mind or the expertise on it that I know your group does, but it's about 22,000 square feet of flowering canopy. Is that right?
Well, that's the biggest license you can get.
That's the biggest license, but you may be able to obtain several licenses.
Correct. There's still some gray area as far as that's concerned. Initially, we thought there was going to be kind of limit the crossover and how many licenses you can have, but it looks like they're not going to limit it. Like if you set up several shell companies or several different
Well, if you have
investment groups, you can do several different licenses.
Or if you had several partners, you could put licenses in each partner's name, right?
Correct.
And have them on the same property. But as an individual, I come to you and I say, Tim, Canna-Hub is a solution for what I want to do. I want to break into the legal cannabis market, the recreational cannabis market, 22,000 square feet. What type of backing do I have to come with as far as financial? Is it going to be years worth of operating costs plus to get into the game? Is it going to be 2 or 3 years, a 5-year? What is it?
Well, I hate to be too blunt, but hopefully those guys have been able to model that out themselves. Hopefully they're sophisticated enough that they could model out what their pro forma is going to look like for the next 2 or 3 years. But not everybody has that skill. But you have to just plan on burning money for the first 18 months.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know that to propagate a large commercial space of that big, 22,000 square foot of canopy is going to take time. To pick your phenotypes and just to get it up and running, you're probably going to be close to a year before you have your first real harvest. So they have to plan on having the money, first of all, for marketing, because it's going to be a knife fight for marketing. And, we can deliver them a completely ready to move in space, but they're going to need a lot of money to burn on marketing and for operations for the first year and a half.
And not to be devil's advocate on this, but I could see problems arising from having commercial grows or recreational grows in such a close proximity. Is you have breeders next to guys that are selling flower. We have pollen going across or transferring potentially.
I got the solution to that.
Mites, mold, these type of things. And I know you do, Horty, but are you guys taking responsibility for that, or is it going to be up to the occupants?
Their own biological safeguards are on them, obviously, because we can't be responsible. Somebody walks through their yard on the way before they get in their car and brings in the spider mites.
They keep having their dirty hunting dog with them every day at their garden, and you're like, dude, keep your dog away from the garden.
But we do try to mitigate the risk as much as possible, being that all of our campuses are hardscaped. You're not going to be walking through the grass on the way into your grow. They're all hermetically sealed from each other. They all have their own HVAC systems. There's no cross-contamination within the building. So as long as they're really diligent about making sure guys, go through the foot baths and go through the air showers and do those things, there's never a foolproof solution. I mean, that pollen will stick to anything, and it can go through HEPA filters. So,
not mine.
This is true. Horty, go ahead. Let's give Horty the plug for the Horty Control Dust Room.
I don't need that music. Thanks. The dust room's been out probably a good 8 years or so, maybe. And many people have done testing of it for me with pollen and whatnot. High Country Genetics, my buddy Dusty, who runs High Country Genetics, he was pollinating the fuck out of all of his neighbors up north for a couple of years, and they were like, God damn it, Dusty, all pissed off. And at a trade show, when I first released the filter, I gave him a couple at the end of the show. I was like, here, take these home. And he put them on the exhaust from his breeding rooms and called me like a month later and was like, bro, fucking killer, dude. No pollen getting out to anything that comes into contact with the filter sticks to the oil. It's got like a vegetable-based oil that has rosemary and cedar in it. So basically it's reticulated foam, the same thing you see on a microphone, like the squishy black foam with open pores in it. And the theory behind it is the airspeed through it is so great because it doesn't restrict like a paper filter would, that small particles, their flight paths become erratic because of the speed at which they're traveling through the filter. Sure. So as soon as they bump into any of the structure in the filter itself, the oil is there and it sticks to the oil. And once the oil seeps into the pollen or the mold spore or whatever, it disrupts this and makes it non-viable.
How often you got to change those filters with the oil?
It depends on the climate that you're in. Yeah. Places that are more humid, that don't have as much dust and dirt kicked up around. I mean, Vegas, you might have to clean it once a month. Maybe in Oregon, once every couple months. The face of the filter has the company logo, Horty Control, sprayed on it, and eventually that will disappear as dirt builds up, and that's when you know. Cool. And instead of replacing it, you take it down, you wash it with a cleaning solution, and then you re-oil it and you reinstall it. So it's a reusable product that can be maintained over time. We've been developing some stuff for greenhouses because obviously, especially in the Oregon Central Valley, they've had huge issues with hemp pollen traveling tens of miles, which they said it wouldn't do, and pollinating the shit out of people's crops. And there's a couple big greenhouses up in Oregon that Last year, they got completely pollinated. This year, they've run dust shrooms on all of their shutters and all their intakes on their greenhouses, and they've kept that at bay. So we are in the process of developing solutions for greenhouses, which at first we were just going to do slide-in panels maybe that would slide in. They also, wet walls, wet walls tend to get mold and mildew growing in them, algae and all that, because all the spores just go right into the wall. When you cover it with this foam, it filters all that stuff out and keeps it from growing inside of the wet wall, so it makes the wet wall easier to maintain. We've looked into just making panel filters, but I think what we've pretty much come to is there'll be sheet metal adapters that go on your shutters or over your wet walls that have adapters to put the filters on, so that you can have multiple filters and you can just switch them out easier.
Oh, it sounds like this might be a match made in heaven, Tim.
We're right in the middle of engineering our HVAC.
And I only take a small finder's fee.
Oh, and I have a patent on the use of reticulated foam as a filtration device for agriculture. So
don't try to copy it.
And
Nice. Yeah. I
We
don't have
know
the time,
one
believe
company
me.
that may have tried.
Hey, and I got about
allegedly.
14 years left on that patent, and I'm looking if anybody's interested in buying it.
Relatively new patents.
That's right.
Oh, good. I'll broker it for you, Horty. Just sit back. I got this for you, Doc. Small fee.
No, I'll take a look at it for sure.
Absolutely.
No, but true that having the right mechanisms in place to make sure that these cross contaminations don't happen with breeders in such a close proximity is going to be very, very important. And I also think about other things like security, right? This is going to be a target potentially when you have this concentration of high-valued product, high-valued crop, extracts, whatever it be, equipment in one centrally located area. Is security part of the package as well, or is that on the operator?
We provide site security, so perimeter security and access to the site is controlled by us. So nobody allowed that's not supposed to be there. It's not an employee. You're not making a legit delivery. Everybody goes through the security gates. Everybody gets vetted out. But their internal security, like their biosecurity, is on them. What happens inside their grows is on them. But
You secure the park.
we secure the park,
Right.
correct. Nobody's going to get into the park that's not supposed to be there. So you have that double layer security. You have our perimeter security plus their internal security, and we have direct. I mean, we're literally 3 minutes from the police station in both cases. So anybody that was trying to do a smash and grab or something would just end up in jail.
Nice.
And I talked about the larger facility. I wonder, are you guys aiming to have fewer large-scale clients, or are the cottage growers that may want to get into it, are there opportunities for them to have a spot at Canna-Hub?
Well, our minimum square foot size right now is 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, that's I think 5,000 or below is considered cottage.
Yeah. I think that most of the growers will end up being in because you got to remember that's the license is based on your flower space.
Yeah.
So if you're basically going to need to double up your space.
Yeah,
at least.
25 for veg, office space, processing space, vault, all that,
Exactly.
all those extra things. Are those built out by you as well? They can be, or
They can be. Again,
You-
vanilla
you-
box, or we can do it all for you.
so you
can
might
have
just get a-
Turnkey or just empty canvas.
or anything in between. I mean, it's really up to them. If they want to provide their own lights, or they can choose their lights, whether it's Gavita or EPAPs, whatever. We'd love to see some guys do LED, but we're not going to force them into that. I'm still waiting for that switch to flip.
It's getting close.
Is it?
Yeah, we've since we started the show, at every trade show, everywhere we've gone, people with LEDs, I've told them, hey, we do the Heavy Tea Grow show. You give us a light to test. I'll give it back to you. I'll even pay you a deposit on the light if you don't think I'm going to I don't want your light.
trying to double our
I'm not
operation
trying
with
to
2
steal
lights.
a fucking light,
Yeah.
And I was like, you give me a light, I'll run it. If it works, I'll be more than happy to tell everybody that it fucking works. If not, I won't beat you up too bad about it, but I'll just say that I don't think the technology's there yet. Nobody ever stepped up to the plate. Eventually, Black Dog LED stepped up, gave Dr. Duff a couple lights. Then it ended up he had issues with them, diodes burning out, this and that and the other, wasn't getting repaired on time. He got kind of
he
disgruntled.
destroyed it on the air.
Then we met Steven from Horticultural Lighting Group. He gave me a Cree-type LED that he had come up with, and I used it, and it was watt per watt. It was just about as good as 1,000 watt right there on. And I was just doing it in a tent. It was like an experiment. It wasn't in a real sealed climate-controlled room. And now he's come out with an even better light that he's actually testing. And it's the
I'm actually using it
LEDs
in
are
the
the
grow-up
future.
competition.
I just don't think that they're quite there yet, but they will be soon.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. It is definitely the future. It's just getting those guys to make because it's a big upfront capital cost.
Absolutely.
So to make that decision and then regret it is everybody's scared to make that call. So I'm waiting for it to happen because it's going to save us a lot of power infrastructure.
So whose brainchild is this? Is this your concept? And the fine gentlemen that are here with you tonight, are they some of your friends or investors, or did someone come to you with this concept and you made this happen? How did this come about?
For good or bad, it was my idea. It's worked out pretty well so far. Most of my assumptions have played out pretty well. But no, I'm surrounded by a team. I obviously am not. I got the
You were sitting
attention
on
span
your
of a
throne
gnat.
one morning reading the New York Times, and you're like, ding, ding, ding.
Reading Entrepreneur magazine.
No, I mean it's just kind of obvious to me. I mean, I've like I said, I've been developing real estate a long time. I've been in cannabis operations a long time. It was just a natural fit for me to move over to just developing real estate in cannabis.
We're here. I just saw your full name, and I forgot it from last time. Tim McGraw. How's Faith doing? Pretty good. I'm sure you hear that all the time.
No, I never heard of it before.
Yeah.
Not once.
Damn, you're so fucking.
I'm original. Hey, we're here with Tim, though. If you want to follow along with us, go on over to Canna-Hub.com to check out all of what's going on. How many of these spaces are still available?
Well, we just probably next week are going to start doing pre-leasing and signing LOIs with guys. So now's the time. We're getting about 4 to 8 calls a day right now from operators. So a big part of it right now is just sifting through operators and kind of choosing the best in breed. And, I don't know how you want to look at it, but fortunately or not, we want the more sophisticated guys that we know are going to be able to weather the storm and
Be successful.
Yeah.
Right, you want good tenants. You
Yeah.
don't care if they have $1 million in liquidity and they're going to set it up because their buddy had a fucking grow light in his garage and now they're going to go big because they got their uncle who's rich to give them money. And then what's going to happen as the landlord? 3 months later, they're fucking out of money. They're rolling. Now you got to find someone else to take their place. So you want good quality tenants from the get-go.
Well,
so that
Tim,
it's less of a hassle.
give us an idea of what a potential tenant may have to come with, what you're expecting for them to come with. Professional bio, background check. What is the list that is going to make someone a
First and
4-star
last
tenant?
and security deposit.
We just actually had a meeting with a good operator today. Some huge pile. I'll just say that some checks, some boxes that need to be checked are your finances. Whether you filed taxes or not over the last few years is important. What level of compliance you're ready for. If you've been already doing third-party testing and making sure everything's already clean before it goes out, that's a big win for you. So as many of the regulated boxes that you can check that are happening in other states with seed-to-sale tracking and third-party testing, the more prepared you are for that, the better you're going to look to us. So, and then obviously, like I said before, being able to model out or at least show us what your business plan is. If you can't put together a business plan and can't put together a pro forma, you're not going to be able to raise the money you need to do it anyway. So,
So grow weed, get money, and fuck bitches is probably not a good thing to put on the app, guys.
no, it might take a second look at it, but
Attended every High Times Cup for the last 4 years.
yeah,
I follow Jungle Boys on Instagram.
I'm the best grower ever.
I'm a master grower. I'm 19 years old. I've been doing this for like 3 years, bro.
2015 Slab Dab champion.
That's right.
Longest dreadlocks in San Bernardino. Where are these facilities going to be located, if I didn't ask you already?
The largest, the 80 acres, is north of Sacramento by about 50 miles in Williams, and then the smaller site, 16 acres, with 100,000 square feet, retrofitting of cold storage space, is just outside of Fresno, about 12, 15 miles outside of Fresno.
And you foresee this expanding even further for you?
Yeah, we're actually looking at space near Bakersfield and even further south potentially. But the portfolio is going to be not going to stop with those two.
Man, I really look forward to talking to you more about this and going down the line. Let's go to the phone lines, though. We've got an update from Dre of Michigan.
Beer me.
Me too. I'll take a beer now. I ran out of lemon water. Dre in Michigan, you want to give an update of what's going on in Michigan?
Oh, hey guys. Yeah, I'll
Trey
do my best
Perkins,
to-
what's up, player?
How you doing, Dre?
How's every little thing growing?
Hopefully green and happy.
Green and happy. Well, yeah, Michigan's got their program going on that they're affording like 3 tiered classes license going on, similar to like liquor licensings and such. And then cities and municipalities that want to opt into these programs are doing so, and then cities that want to opt out, they're doing that as well. But I don't know what the Class A license is, but the Class B and the Class C licenses are 1,000 plant counts and 1,500 plant counts respectively. So you've got these cities that are getting ready to install these huge commercial grows that they could probably use some pointers and guidance. You know what I mean?
You filling out your application or your resume?
I'm that thing off and polishing it up. The good thing is I got a lot of experience. I don't have a lot of money in the bank, but man, I got that experience on luck. So there's a lot of investors that are going hard at it. My particular municipality did not cap the amount of licenses that they're going to grant. So these things can stack on top of each other, and whoever wants to can put an enormous amount of veg and flower under one roof. But really, my big concern is I kind of want to make sure that programs like this are at least sustainable. It's really difficult to produce, that amount of volume and keeping your cost per gram low and also being efficient with your resources. So
absolutely.
You have to be a
that's tough
pro.
look.
Is Michigan requiring seed-to-sale tracking and third-party testing?
Geez, Pete, you need a C note just to get started. The lucky thing is my county is super impoverished, so we've got low property values and taxes and things like that.
How about for the grower, Dre, the average grower out there, even that may be a decent-sized grower, let's say 50 to 100 lights, which is really going to be quite small in this up-and-coming market for both you and here in California. What are the feeling for these guys? Are they feeling that they're getting kind of pushed out of it for you?
I think Dre missed it. The question?
Some people might be feeling that, obviously. If they haven't been aligning or at least trying to make moves to club up into the larger grows, I could certainly see where they would feel that way. They've got, the recreational laws that are going to be following this whole medical thing up, but that could steer the market a completely different direction, next election season. So a lot of growers right now are just kind of a little uncertain on what's going on, and everybody's trying to plan their
That's a status quo for anyone.
Anywhere, yeah.
You start changing the status quo, people become uncomfortable and whatnot. To his degree, why I asked about how the growers felt about it, for you, Tim, because I see guys that may be great growers and they may be able to scale it to something like that. Is Canna-Hub going to offer staffing solutions as well to these facilities?
Potentially. There's a lot of ancillary stuff that we can offer growers and producers. But that's something. We're definitely going to offer some financial services, potentially hydro supply and whatnot. But
hey, get on my business, dog.
well, we need to talk. We can move a lot of nutrients for you.
Yeah, keep me in the loop.
Hey, Dre. Back to Tim's question, which maybe you did a dab before he asked you that one, and you spaced on it. And I can't remember, but I know that my cousin's best friend in Michigan, his wife is like the secretary for the Senate in Michigan, and she gets all the emails between all of the people talking, and may or may not allegedly BCC me on some of them, so I can kind of keep up with what they're talking about. But back to his question, are they going the whole seed to sale tracking, all of that stuff with the third-party testing and everything in Michigan as they do in Colorado and Oregon and Washington and as they've set up for California? Or have they not even gotten that far yet? Because I know that Michigan's been like dragging its feet on it, and it's been kind of like, all over the place. But have they implemented those things being necessary?
It feels like that's probably going to be coming down the pipe, but I don't believe they've gotten that far.
Yeah, I don't even think they've gotten that far, Tim.
That law has really evolved. I mean, it started out just a caregiver type scenario where you could grow up to, like, I think 72 plants or something with five patients. But, that's the kind of the shitty thing about when states come online is the law evolves over time. The rules change. They add recreational. They have two separate parts of the government managing medical and rec. There's lots of growing pains in new markets. The fortunate thing with California is it's such a mature market. As soon as the state kind of wraps their arms around it, it's going to take off like crazy.
But there will be some evolution as well as things iron themselves out. How is Canna-Hub prepared to bring solutions to those things? So you say you have the contracts locked in with government officials. You've done all the heavy lifting to make sure that it's affordable, cost per square foot. Everything we talked about sounds great, but there's always the what if. How is Canna-Hub prepared to deal with that?
The best way to do that is for growers and everybody to come together and fight for their survival, basically. And what we're going to do here in California is most likely form an association of our operators. So obviously we're stronger together. So and we're all pulling on the rope in the same direction. That's how you have an impact. They don't listen to one guy, one pissed off guy on the phone. You got to get together and find common ground and attack the problem together to protect the industry.
It is kind of tragic how a lot of these guys are cutthroat with each other, and they try to cut each other off at the knees rather than bring each other up.
Yeah, it's been a problem. It's a problem in the industry for people having so many divergent views. People need to find common ground and work together to protect all of us.
Yeah, the industry still evolved from a bunch of drug dealers.
This is 100%
it
true.
is what it is.
Yep.
I mean, it's like fucking, like even the hydro industry, like people are cutthroat. Everybody's copying each other, trying to sell shit 1 penny less than the other guy. Da 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 da. It's like it's a bunch of dope dealers like doing their thing. You know what I mean? I wouldn't expect it to have too many morals to it.
Well, Canna-Hub.com. It's super exciting stuff. We're here with Tim, and I would like to say, Dre, thanks so much for giving us an update on Michigan,
Yeah,
man.
Dre.
Stay safe.
pleasure.
Stay safe out there and stay warm. It's getting pretty cold, I'm sure. You got your hoop houses with all your veggies still going?
Trying to wrap everything up for the season, man. Maybe restart up around January 1.
Awesome, dude. Well, stay safe and have
You
a
must
great
be
holiday.
growing iceberg lettuce in January in
Oh,
Michigan.
boom, boom, boom. There you go, dog. He's on fire. Watch out. Hey, if Duff's not here, we got Horty,
Hell
though.
yeah.
Horty Mark out there. We got to take these grow calls, Tim, so if you want to chime in with some of your knowledge, man.
Sure.
This is a smaller grower. I don't think he's going to be sending in his app to you. But we have Glenn in Harbor City. What's going on tonight?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, man. Oh, and shout out to Dre. I'm sending him a swag pack of a bunch of great stuff for the garden from Vermicrop all out there to Michigan. I know he does a lot of things with schools and stuff. Hopefully he can put it to good use either in his garden or donate it to someone. Okay, Glenn, you're on the air, brother. What's going on tonight?
Not much. I'm looking to do like something to sustain my own supply with 2-3 plants inside the room.
You're allowed 6, man. Let's do 6.
What's that?
You're allowed 6. Let's grow 6.
Yeah.
There you go. Just something, small in the room, like contained without hardly any smell possible.
Okay, well.
Well, let's start with the basics. Here you go. This is like if you're just trying to grow for yourself, right?
Right.
How much space do you have that you can actually allot to this project?
I don't know, maybe 100 square feet.
So a 10 by 10 area,
Yeah.
basically. Like say you have a room.
Well, it's not a room. It's more like a walk-in closet.
That's a big ass walk-in closet.
Damn, dog.
Damn.
He's got all this space after she left him.
Right? Yeah. Now the closet's empty, right? Because there's not a bunch of shit you haven't worn since fucking 7th grade hanging in
And now
there.
on his application it says, grow weed, get money, fuck bitches.
Bitches, that's right. If you have a 10 by 10, is it? Do you own the property? Is it a rental? Is it a condo? Is it?
It's a condo.
It's a condo. Do you own it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you theoretically could say, depending on the homeowners association, like, is there ability to install like an air conditioning unit into that area?
No.
Like, so you couldn't do do you have like a back patio that's like fenced in your condo?
I have a patio, but definitely not fenced in. It's facing like a park.
So like people can just walk right up to your back door?
No, I'm on the 3rd floor.
Okay. But you have like a patio out there that like you can like slide the door open and go sit out on the patio?
Exactly.
How far away from the room that you want to grow in is that patio?
It's right next to, right at the end of the patio is my bedroom window.
Okay, what I'm thinking that you may possibly be able to do is get yourself a small mini split system that you can place the outside air handler unit on the patio. Okay? And then plumb it to the air handler that goes inside the area, like the 10 by 10 closet. Of course, in the closet, you're going to want to knock out all the shelving, all the fucking coat hanger rods, all that. Just clean the whole thing out, pull out any carpet, just make it a shell. But if you can install a mini split unit on the porch that you can snake the lines into that closet and run an air conditioner in that area, then you can create a sealed room where you don't have to exhaust any air and you can control the climate. Now, you also need a dehumidifier to pull out the excess humidity from all the plants that are in vegetation in there. What I would say you would probably do is you would probably split that 10 by 10 into at least 2 areas, or maybe even install some type of tents in there and have an area that you can have mother plants and clones and pre-vegetated plants in. And then you could have the bloom area inside of that as well. and you could do a perpetual harvest where you're taking clones, you're vegging them out. When they get to the size you want them to be, you move them into the bloom area in that room. And then if you can do like 6 plants that way, and the average strain takes, say 8 weeks, 8, 9, 10 weeks, then you could theoretically, if you have 6 plants, you could be harvesting a plant every week and a half or so. And you could probably have a fresh supply that never ends of flower for yourself to consume. If you can't do
Or
it,
a gift to a friend, because you can't legally
right,
sell
you can't sell it, but you could tell your friend, I'll come over to your house and wash your dishes for a $400 donation, and you get free sack of weed from me. You know what I mean? But no, like if you could do that, that would be the perfect thing, especially if you own the condo. It's something that you plan on doing. It's not illegal to have 6 plants. Maybe even if you were a little scared of having clones and mothers and plants that you were flowering, then maybe only flower 2 or 3 plants at a time. But you could get a perpetual harvest going where you're not having to get clones from other people. You don't have to worry about bringing in pests, diseases, things like that. And the sealed area that's climate controlled will keep the smell away from your neighbors. You can have a charcoal filter in
Put
there.
a
And
can
you could
filter in there.
basically have yourself a little 10 by 10 production facility where you're just constantly producing your own medicine.
A little 10 by 10 Canna-Hub.
Right. A little 10 by 10 Canna-Hub. If you can pull that off, that's what I would do. Because if you do it any other way, like just go in the closet, hang some lights, have an exhaust fan blowing out into the bedroom, sucking cold air in through a hole you put through the wall at the bottom by the door. I mean, you may get some kind of results, but you're going to have smell issues. You're going to be at the mercy of the climate in the bigger room.
You're going to have sleep issues.
Yeah, so if you can figure out a way to put a mini split on your porch and wire it up to your main breaker box.
You could get a line set that's 25 feet. That should be able to make it.
Absolutely. The big thing's going to be is, does your condo's main power supply, does your breaker box have an empty spot where you could add more power, or somewhere where you could add another breaker to run that mini split, and or maybe a large enough breaker that you could run a separate sub panel that will control that mini split and your lights and your dehumidifier and all your fans and everything else. That would be the ultimate way to
Yeah,
go
if you have
about it.
enough power. But so we could build out that area complete to 4 lights like that. But
not even just
Yeah, I mean, but you could put 1 light and grow 6 plants under it. You could grow. This is the thing. Whatever size area, if you want to light up the whole 10 by 10 and make it a bloom area, you first off have to have enough cooling and environmental controls. If you're going to put 1,000 watts in there, if it's double-ended, it's about 5,500 BTU per 1,000 watt. So you're looking at a fairly large unit of condenser outside on your patio. Well, you don't necessarily need that. You can put a couple lights in there and have a 12,000 BTU unit that's fairly small these days.
Or one light in a tent in there, and then another tent in there that you have your mamas and your clones in, and then you can just circulate the air through the tent into the actual 10 by 10 to even out the temperature in the area, and inject CO2 into the 10 by 10, and it will go to both the veg and the bloom areas. And if you're only running 1 light, for say 1,000 watt for a bloom, and a couple 315s or something for your veg, or even just T5s. Yeah, you could just run a small little 12.5, 15,000 BTU mini split, and it would keep that area at the right climate, and then you don't have to worry about using more power, because like you said, you're just trying to grow for personal use. If you can put a couple plants in a 5x5 area that you have 1,000 watts in, you should be able to harvest more than enough to satisfy your needs.
Yeah. The problem with condos is most of them have pretty low amperage. You're usually
Right.
under 100 amps or less. Even
60
maybe,
or something, yeah.
So you be careful on, especially using the HPS and veg or whatever. You want to use T5s to save power.
Absolutely.
Unless your neighbor's cool, then you might be able to run an extension cord from their unit.
No, the hall, then it's common area electricity.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
just,
a little
just
hole drilled out from your unit.
Yeah, tap into
yours.
the light in the hallway out.
Oh man!
But if you're only running the 1,000 watt light and you're running at 240, you're pulling about 4.5 amps, and then maybe the AC would probably pull about that same, because you don't really need a very large air conditioner. So you may be able to, convert one of your 15 amp that you have in there already from one room to just switch it over to a 240, and then hey, the plugs don't work.
Make sure you get a legit electrician.
Yeah,
too,
get
to
a
do the
legit
240.
electrician.
240 could kill you.
Yep.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if you had to replace a breaker and then lose a couple sockets in a room that, hey, you know what? Then I just don't have lights in that room like that. But whatever it takes, have someone look at your electricity. Are you able to look at your breaker box right now?
Yeah, I just looked at it. There's a little separate area that I can install another.
What's the main on it? Does it have a number on it?
Let me check. It is.
I'm going to guess 80 amps.
Probably 60 or 80. Yeah, 80.
It is.
Dude. Come on, sound guy. Dude. Look at you.
Didn't say, yeah.
What does it say?
Oh, I can't see
Can't
it.
tell?
Okay, you have a space for a breaker, right? So how many breakers are already in there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And add up the numbers on them. What do they come to?
30, 30, 30.
Oh, wow.
30,
You got big circuits.
Yeah, you got big circuits. You got plenty of power there.
50,
All right, let's go big.
20.
Go buy another condo and let's blow that bitch up.
Yeah, no, so you should be able to run. You probably, in that spare space that you have, considering that you have all those 30s, I mean, maybe he has a 100-amp panel or more.
It sounds like he
200 amp.
does. I mean, he's got the many 30s. He's
Yeah.
doing all right.
But yeah, you should, if you have a bare spot there to add another breaker, you should easily be able to add a 15 to 20 amp 240 on that and run it to a separate power distribution that'll run your AC, your lights, and everything, and then it won't, you might not be able to, like, turn on all your lights and TV and oven and your fucking washer and dryer while the lights are on, but hey,
Don't run your electric oven at the same time.
Right. But that's what I would do. I would try to put a mini split into that room, into that closet, and then I would separate in that area to have a bloom area in there and a veg area, and you shouldn't need more than a 5x5 area to actually bloom plants that would give you enough flower to keep you happy.
What if I use I don't use my laundry room. It's a
Use that as your veg area and then your walk-in closet.
30 and 30 for the washer and dryer.
You probably have 240 in there if you have an electric dryer.
Yeah, you probably have 240. Is the plug on the wall one of those crazy shaped plugs?
Yep.
Yeah, you can get an adapter that plugs right into there and runs a
You'll
complete
save some money
power
there.
distribution. Yeah, and you don't even have to add anything else. But still, I would try to turn that 10x10 into a climate-controlled area. Like the holy grail of growing indoors pretty much is CEA, Controlled Environment Agriculture.
Yes.
Right.
You don't want to be at the mercy of Mother Nature. You don't want to be bringing in contaminants. You want to be able to use CO2. The lights aren't as powerful as the sun. The CO2 helps. Having a rigid environment that you can control keeps the smell in. You can, it's more discreet. So ultimately, your goal should be to try to convert that 10x10 area into a all-in-one area that has, even if, like I said, even if you put a couple tents in there, in that 10x10, they will separate without having to do construction and wall stuff off and add doors and everything. Just a couple tents in that area, a 5x5 to bloom in, and like a 2x4 or something tent to veg and keep your clones and stuff in.
Well, and if he's willing to use the laundry room, though, why not?
Because it's only 3 by something. It's just a tiny little area.
Yeah, to supplement 100. I mean, you don't need too much space, 20% space, 15-20%. You could keep vegetative plants in there. You don't have to have them full size to go into it. Why not?
Right. No, but what I'm saying is, why use 2 rooms when you're not going to use the whole 10x10 to flower anyway?
That's what I'm saying. Use the whole 10x10 to flower.
But he only needs it for personal use, and he only has a limited amount.
That's what he says now.
And he doesn't. Yeah, well, he can always upgrade in the future. But for right now, I try to put it all in one area with the air conditioning, dehumidification, and charcoal filtration in that closet, and go from there.
All right, my man. Hey, Glenn, stay on the line after I hook you up, because being a local guy, I have some solutions, and I work with a lot of electricians and stuff that are solid people that I can give you some references off the air, okay?
Sure, sounds good.
All right, but I'm going to hook you up, dog, in that little 10x10 controlled environment. Of course, it includes your temperature, your humidity, all these things, our lighting. It also includes CO2, and what easier way to get CO2 in your garden other that green pads. greenpadsco2.com. Hang them up, give them a squirt, let the CO2 rain down on your plants' faces. They're going to love you for it. It's going to speed up the intrinsic cycles of photosynthesis, make everything bigger, stronger, and grow faster. GreenPad CO2, go check out all of their products today, right? Meow. I'm also going to send you some Terpinator. Let's help make it AAA, no matter what style of growing, soil, cocoa, or recirculating hydroponics. Terpinator does help make everything AAA. And I'm going to send you a Blue Lab pH pin. Can't be growing in the blind, right, Horty?
Yes.
The pH pin is crucial in whatever grow style you are using. Glenn, that's over $200 worth of free stuff to help get you started. And like I said, stay on the line during the break. I'm going to talk to you off the air a little bit. Oh, sorry, Glenn. I've been quick on the draw tonight. quick on the Tim McGraw.
Oh, that was a stretch.
I know, I'm trying. I lost
That's
my
what
funny
she
guy.
said.
I lost my funny guy. He stormed out of here because he wasn't being funny. Tim, before we go to a break, Canna-Hub.com. Anything else that I left out about Canna-Hub that you want to make sure our audience knows?
I think you covered most of it over the last 2 shows, but the important part is that if you're going to locate anywhere, the fine print matters. You know, the devil's in the details. Zoning, you have to look at all the requirements beyond just the pricing too. You know, there's some cities that are requiring you hire half your staff from the town.
Right.
So little things like that matter.
And then you're out in the middle of tweaker land, and everybody you're hiring is like a meth junkie or whatever.
Well, whatever. I mean, it's just difficult for any business to do that, to hire just within that town. You know,
Absolutely.
so it's those little things that are going to have a big impact on your success. So. We can help you with that.
That's absolutely true. I invite you to stick around, have some beers, a couple safety meetings with us. I know you will, man. I feel bad. I should have brought some of my recent punch that I pulled down, but I'm coming over this chest thing, so I didn't know.
I'm gonna have to come back again.
I didn't know that you were the chief in charge. The chiefer in charge. Hey, it's Heavy T's Grow Show. We've got more of your grow questions coming up. A couple past interviews as well. It's DFZRadio.com. We'll be right back, baby.
Packet, and it goes in there. It's going to add or remove moisture to maintain a specific relative humidity, 58% or 62, depending on which one you use.
All right. Welcome back, Heavy T's Grow Show. I can't breathe, and I haven't even smoked today. Or tonight. Hey, man, sorry, that was a bad representation of that weed that Saint busted out for Heavy T's Grow Show. That in no way was grown by anyone in this studio.
I did not grow that either.
Hey, I don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yes. I never met a joint that I didn't accept.
It was free.
And take a hit, but maybe not a second one.
There you go.
Heavy T's Grow Show, 562-653-0707. We're hooking you up. We're taking your grow questions as Horty Chris leaves. Bye-bye. Let's go to California. We've got Tyler on the line. What's going on tonight, brother?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Same stuff, different Wednesday. What's your question?
Right on. Right now I got my first room going. It's a 5x5 sealed room. Currently I've got a 6-bar light in there. There's only 4 lights going at the moment. I've got the CO2 tank in there with the regulator. And right now the humidity is going at a low 46, a high 60. Temperature is dropping to 65, rising up to 79. I turn my lights and CO2 on at 8 a.m., goes off 8 p.m. What kind of recommendations do you guys have for me, and how crucial is the heater or AC and then a dehumidifier at this moment?
Well, we talked about the Controlled Environment Ag, right, CEA. You can run those higher humidities if you're trying to do a specific VPD number, vapor pressure differential in your grow. You're going to need to be a little bit warmer with a little bit more humidity. But for safety concerns and a smaller grow of not having a pathogen outbreak or a potential bug outbreak, I like to say let's keep our grows at anywhere from 75 to about 82 degrees and between 45 to about 55 relative humidity. Okay.
And try not to have the differential between day and night temperatures be more than 10 degrees.
Right. So your 65 to 79% humidity is quite high. It's quite high. So with that, you need to slit.
No, that'd be 46 to 60 for humidity.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And that's probably not bad.
No, and that's going to be just about right. The swings, we're trying to keep it within a window of about 10% relative humidity points.
Yeah, the spikes are what kills you.
Yeah, the ups and downs. So if you have a dehumidifier that you can set it to a specific point, then you won't need additional environmental controls in small of a grow area. So you can set it to 50%. It pops on when it goes above 50%. Turns off when it goes below it. So you can keep it regulated pretty easily.
Did he say that it's AC?
Go ahead, Tyler. Tell Horty.
Sorry, I was grabbing a beer.
No, I do not have that in at the moment.
It's a 5x5.
Just because I didn't think it needed to be any lower than what it was already dropping down to.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you should be fine. It's if you're bringing in fresh outside air, though, you're probably going to want to get a fan controller that does temperature and humidity. So you can set it, and so when your fan only comes on when the temperature exceeds the threshold or the humidity exceeds the threshold.
Because at its current state, the room is sealed, and then it's the air that's in there. There's a fan that's getting air circulating, and then there is the CO2 that's given.
So
off the CO2,
how is the
obviously.
room sealed and you're keeping the temperature where it is?
It's sealed. It's
He said he had a 6-bar light, but only for.
Built in a garage. It's built by the conventional means of a home, drywall,
Okay.
and then insulation.
But okay, let's go back to your light. What wattage is the complete unit?
Ooh, I am not familiar.
Is
I'm
it
not sure.
is it a T5? Is that why you only have so many bars, or is it an LED?
Yeah, it's T5. There you go.
Okay, so if it's 4 foot, each one is about 54 watts. So
Okay.
at 4 of those, you're only running 216 watts. Fairly low wattage.
Yeah, you probably want to increase your wattage, but you got to be careful when you increase the wattage to get more light in there that you don't exceed the heat.
And so there's a fine line between that. If you're growing under T5, I love them for veg. You can get them close. You get that close internodal spacing. The plants acclimate to it fairly quickly. They start growing, and then you can turn off certain bulbs if they're during veg. If they're growing up, you could turn them back down to kind of keep them stagnant and keep the plants where they're at before you move them into a bloom area so they don't overgrow your veg area. For blooming, if you're going to rely on a T5, for instance, if you expect it to grow a beefsteak tomato, you're going to get tomatoes that look like cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not going to get these big, luscious flowers or fruits. They're going to be probably high quality, but they're going to be just the tops pretty much, and it's going to be larfy, schnarfy from that point down.
Right.
Okay, so you need to make sure that you're on point with it. For mine in a 5x5, if you're able to get decent AC, ducting in correctly, or even if it's a room in the garage that he built out, it sounded like he said, we could put it in the wall and actually have it drain out into the garage.
You could put a window shaker through the wall up high, and then make sure it has an angle to tilt back so the water runs off, and then you can have the water, the little outlet where the water drips out. You could even just put like a Rubbermaid container under it to catch the water that comes off, and that would probably be better. If you have the ability, I would probably say try to run 1,000 watt HPS in there with a 5,000, 6,000 BTU little window unit stuck through the wall up high and catch that runoff off the back, and you're probably going to see a lot better results.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
at this point, though, with that humidity going up to 60%, would you say that dehumidifier is crucial?
I think you getting a bigger light is more crucial than a dehumidifier.
Yeah.
You are asking all the right questions, Tyler. You're
Okay.
You're on point as a grower's mind to thinking about the humidity, the temperatures, the fluctuation. You must be listening to the show for quite a while because these are the right questions that you want to be thinking about. But back to the light, we want to be able to grow the best possible, but also the largest size flowers in the small area. We're only going to be lighting up the small area. You need to get a bigger light. Now, if maybe you can't get 1,000 watt or whatnot, a 400 watt high pressure sodium would be better than that. A 630 ceramic metal halide would be better than that. You know what would be awesome in that area is that 550 horticultural
HLG.
lighting group, and you could get those on with a discount code for about $900 right now at horticulturelightinggroup.com.
But if you're on a budget and $900 for just a HLG light versus $400 for a 1,000 watt HPS and another couple $100 for a window unit, I would go that route.
Yeah, you're going to get the yields that are going
Yeah.
to pay for it anyway.
Yeah, you're going to get the yields. I would not say 60% humidity. It means that you should have a dehumidifier before you should have better lighting.
Okay, so the light will be the most important thing at this
That's
point.
your son, brother.
Right, but also keep in
For
mind,
sure.
if you add a 1,000 watt light in there and the temperature goes up to 90, then
you're effed.
then it's not going to end up better.
So you need that AC
That
as well, but the AC is a de facto dehumidifier as well.
Right, the AC also is a dehumidifier, and if you size everything correctly, you may be able to get away without adding an additional dehumidifier. Usually, though, in a sealed room, you're going to end up with another dehumidifier. In a space that small, though, you could even get like the smallest one they sell at Sears or somewhere and hang it up in the corner
You
somewhere.
can get away with one of those.
Yeah, get away with something small like that. I mean, you won't need that many pints a day out of a 5x5, but I would seriously consider going on Amazon or to your local home. Like, it's the end of the season right now, right? So a lot of places have ACs on clearance. You probably need about a 5,000 to 6,000 BTU little tiny window unit would be more than enough for a 1,000-watt light.
And more AC in that area isn't better. You can overdo it, and it actually works against itself.
It makes it clammy. If you over air condition, the air conditioner will short cycle, meaning it'll turn on to cool, and then it'll turn off quickly because it's very powerful. And then it'll turn on again, turn off, turn on, turn off. So you're getting the short cycling of the AC. And if you oversize your air conditioner, what you'll end up with is a cold, clammy, like moist room. Does that make sense?
What's my lowest but also safe temperature?
It really depends. Genetics play a huge part in that. And actually, if you're running CO2 in a sealed area, I find at least that if you can run a little bit warmer, like 80, 82, the CO2 helps improve the plant process and kind of speeds it up a little bit. So I wouldn't run in a room at 69 degrees. It's a little cooler. The plants aren't really probably working as hard. But if you have CO2 in a room, you can run a little bit warmer temps. I would shoot for somewhere between 75 and 82 degrees.
Okay.
But I'd seriously consider throwing a little window unit in the side of that thing in the garage and have the hang out the back, catch the water that runs off of it, and upgrade to a larger light.
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, cool. Now, two separate questions. One of them is I haven't used any sprays or any anti-pesticide or anything like that on the room itself. So am I already past the point of when I need to do that, or can I still do that now?
You can still do preventative maintenance. You can spray, Azamax, neem derivatives, green cleaners, things like that.
All the new products from GH can be used almost.
Yeah, they got all the new ones out
harvest.
from GH. An ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure.
It's a nonstop thing of IPM. Integrated Pest Management is a continuous application. You don't stop doing it thinking that you're safe. The only difference between a newbie and someone that has the experience isn't that they don't have these things come into their garden. I mean, plants give off pheromones that attract things. Like I said, powdery mildew is around us. It may be in the environment, and it needs certain things to actually start growing, which could be prevalent in an indoor garden. So we need to take proactive actions to keep those out of there. So doing it continuously, defoliating, air movement is also an intricate part of doing that, but using things that are non-systemic, non-harmful, and will help you pass testing. I mean, Tyler, you're getting started in this little grow, but you heard our man Tim here from Canna-Hub talking about the need to get your stuff tested. If you're going to try to make a business of this someday, you need to start playing by the regulations off your 5x5. If someday you want to have a 50,000 square foot facility and be the lead grower or have equity in it, you need to start playing by the rules and know how to integrate your garden and your gardening set of skills into that business format. If you really want to make this a career, if it's just a hobby, you also want to practice best grow practices, which also include those.
Yeah, you want clean medicine at the end.
Absolutely. And remember,